Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
Are you interested in angels, demons, ghosts, spirits, and monsters? Are you curious about their origins, influence, and how to protect against the unknown? If so, then welcome to Southern Demonology, the podcast that explores all of this and more.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
My husband and I recently realized that neither of us were getting the sleep we deserved. So we sat down and talked about our ideal beds. For him, soft as feathers. For me, firm as a plank. This would be a huge issue if it weren't for the Sleep Number Smart Bed. Thankfully, with our new Sleep Number Smart Bed, we can each dial in our desired sleep number settings to our ideal comfort and finally get the sleep we deserve. Plus, the Climate Series feature makes sure our bed stays nice and cool through the warm summer months. Why choose a Sleep Number Smart Bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. And now it's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, limited time, exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
We all belong outside. We're drawn to nature, whether it's the recorded sounds of the ocean we doze off to, or the succulents that adorn our homes. Nature makes all of our lives, well, better. Despite all this, we often go about our busy lives removed from it. But the outdoors is closer than we realize. With All Trails, you can discover trails nearby and explore confidently. With offline maps and on-trail navigation, download the free app today.
Basema Ab, where Wald, where Manfas Kedus, Ahado Unlock. If you had no idea what I just said, this is the standard refrain that both prayers and magical scrolls found in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church starts with, and it simply means, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, the one Lord. It then continues the ritualistic phrase, Salot Ba'inta, which means a prayer concerning, and then will relate the matters to which the work is dedicated. For protection scrolls, they will typically list out the specific demons from which the wearer should be protected. Now, we've looked at a fair number of cultures here. Japanese yokai, Western demonology, the haunting shape of generational curses, and a whole cavalcade of night terrors from my own personal collection. But today, I want to take us to the Horn of Africa, to a spiritual tradition that is both ancient and living, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. More specifically, I want to shine a light on the demonic landscape that this tradition identifies. And trust me, it is as rich, complex, and terrifying as anything we've explored so far. Hello all, and welcome back to the Southern Demonology Podcast. As always, I am your friendly neighborhood ancient demonologist JJ. If you wouldn't mind, please like and follow on whatever platform you happen to be watching or listening. And if you truly want to earn 10,000 JJ Awesome bonus points, you can even become a Patreon member for as little as $1.99 a month. Link to that, all of our episodes, and social media accounts can be found at southerndemonology.com. And if you have a particular question or just want to say hi, you can contact me there as well. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Ephesians 6:12. The generic word for demon or evil spirit in Ge'ez or classical Ethiopic is Ganen. The word is very important as the root GNN also gives rise to the word Genun or demoniac and Genanawi or demon possessed. In fact, this particular root you are more than likely familiar with, as it's the same as from which the Arabic word jinn is derived. If you don't know, classical Ethiopic is a Semitic language and therefore shares many roots with other Semitic languages. Arabic and Ge'ez actually have a great deal in common, from its broken plural system to a very large overlapping vocabulary. That is one of the reasons why a prerequisite to studying Ge'ez at Harvard, or at least it was back in my day, which was a while ago, was to have studied either Hebrew or Arabic for 2 years. Our initial look into Ganen comes from the protection scrolls. I've discussed the protection scrolls before, but today I wanted to do a deep dive into what these infernal creatures or negative influences are, so that you can get the sense of not only the magnitude of the onus might be, but also its historical context, which is lengthy indeed. Now, I will be delving into some of the philology of the names in Ge'ez, so in this particular episode, as they are rather revealing. Now, to get into specifics, the next few are ones that are mostly commonly cited in magical protection scrolls created by Debtera, the individuals who are sometimes part of and sometimes outside of the purview of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Worry not, as they will be covered in a part 2, as they are equally fascinating in their own right. The first two are Barya and Legewon. Now, when I was studying the scrolls for the first time, I was told that these refer to the twin serpents that encircle the earth, constantly swallowing each other's tails, similar to Ouroboros. However, the meaning behind their names goes so much deeper than that. Ge'ez has a ton of loanwords from Greek, especially around specific terms concerning the priesthood or Christianity. Legewon is one search word. Can you guess what extremely famous demon that's the name of? I could, without copyright protection, I would happily play the Jeopardy theme song here, but I'll give you a small hint. The Greek word is legion. Okay, the answer is legion. Now, Barya has several different meanings. The first is slave. The second is demon. And the third is epilepsy. Yep, epilepsy. Hang in there with me. And that's because Barya is viewed as a particular demon that inflicts epilepsy onto its victims, just as ancient societies for centuries before have postulated all bad things stem from the demonic or spirits. In fact, the exorcists of ancient Babylon could be considered a stopgap between priests and doctors, as they treated everything from curses to headaches. Well, depending upon the wealth of the individual in question, that is. Unfortunately, that's not too far off from today, but regardless. However, folk etymology may also link Barya with something slightly more powerful, the devil himself. The name Baryal is one of the many names of Satan, and this too has a very familiar Greek origin, Beliar, which in turn is a corruption of the Hebrew word Baal. This actually comes full circle in that there's another name for Satan, Belechor, which Yesenius, which is one of the most famous of all Hebrew grammars out there, trace back to the Hebrew word Baal Kuryah, or Lord of the world. So in other words, Barya and Legewon are pulling a lot of weight here. Not only are they a reference to Ouroboros that physically encircle the world, but they also refer to an entire host of demons that possess and inflict diseases upon humanity and could even be an allusion to Satan. So in other words, these things metaphorically surround the world. One thing to never take lightly is the power of illusion. The next is Shotalay. There's no specific etymology that I can find in Ge'ez beyond partial matches against some words that mean to rend or to rip apart. But these are a race of baby-killing demons which are very reminiscent to Lamashtu of Mesopotamian fame, who was infamous for sniffing under the doorways of homes in order to find pregnant women and newborns so that she could devour them either in utero or in the crib. Unlike biblical Hebrew, classical Ethiopic has many names for demon. Mazai, Masa'al, Baitan, Madanat, Zār, Tegedi, and Tafant. But rather than continue to go through each one of these one by one, after all, I realized that etymology and philology are not everyone else's interest points like my own. Let's take 4 broad categories and explore them instead. And let's begin with perhaps the most well-known spiritual antagonist in the region, the Zār. Now, if that word sounds familiar to you, you're not imagining things. Zār spirits appear across East Africa and into the Arabian Peninsula. And within the Ethiopian context, they take on a particularly potent identity. The Zār are spirits. Some say jinn, some say fallen angels or malicious dead that inhabit people, especially women, and cause everything from illness to infertility to erratic behavior. This is one of the major reasons why protection scrolls are written by and large for pregnant women, because they are the most at risk. Etymologically, the word comes from the root Zed Resh Aleph, which means to sow or scatter. This is the noun form, which means either seed or progeny. This is why the Zār could also be considered a generational curse, as it can be inherited from one's ancestors. But here's where it gets interesting. While the Zār are undoubtedly seen as malevolent, the way they are treated can be more diplomatic in nature.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
My husband and I recently realized that neither of us were getting the sleep we deserved. So we sat down and talked about our ideal beds. For him, soft as feathers. For me, firm as a plank. This would be a huge issue if it weren't for the Sleep Number smart bed. Thankfully, with our new Sleep Number smart bed, we can each dial in our desired sleep number settings to our ideal comfort and finally get the sleep we deserve. Plus, the Climate Series feature makes sure our bed stays nice and cool through the warm summer months. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. And now it's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, limited time, exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
Unlike the full-on exorcisms we see in the Western Christian model, shouting priests, flailing limbs, projectile vomiting, if you go by the Hollywood standards, which we do not, the Zār ritual in Ethiopia is more negotiative. The afflicted person, often through a spiritual medium or ritual leader, engages with the spirit. And it's not so much about casting it out as it is appealing to it. The Zār is spoken to, listened to, even offered food, incense, or clothing. There's a kind of grudging respect in this model, like dealing with a volatile but powerful house guest. You don't evict them, you give them what they want so that they'll leave on their own. It's not exactly Christian orthodoxy, which is why Zār rituals are often conducted outside the direct control of the church. But the Ethiopian religious ecosystem is nothing if not complex. You have priests on one end, Debtera, more on them in another episode, in the middle, and then you have community ritual leaders who may be women, Muslim, and may not answer to any ecclesiastical hierarchy whatsoever. And yet, they all deal with the Zār. Next up is the Buda. And this is where things get a little darker. The Buda isn't just a spirit. It's also a class of people. Yes, people believed to wield the evil eye. The Buda are thought to be born with the ability to shapeshift, usually into hyenas, and to harm other people out of envy or sheer malevolence. In many ways, they function like werewolves or skinwalkers in other traditions. But here's the thing, accusations of being Buda are almost always linked to class or caste or race. In Ethiopian society, Buda is frequently attributed to artisans like blacksmiths, potters, or leather workers, groups that historically lived on the margins of village life. It's a textbook case of spiritual marginalization. People who live outside social norms become repositories for spiritual blame. And to this day, someone suffering from an unexplained illness or sudden misfortune may consult a Debtera or local priest who will say, "You've been afflicted by the Buda." Protective rituals might involve iron tools, talismans, or magical scrolls that absorb or deflect the gaze. In fact, one of the most commonly cited things to protect against is the evil eye. And it's not just a metaphor. People have been ostracized, assaulted, or even killed over accusations of being Buda. Demons here are not just mythic creatures. They are interwoven with power, politics, and prejudice. And if the word Buda sounds familiar, that's because it is. It's derived from Buddhists who regularly were discriminated against as they were viewed to having supernatural powers. Now, let's talk about a lesser known but incredibly fascinating category. Ayine Tila, literally eye shadow or eye shade. These spirits are believed to obscure vision, not so much in the optical sense, but in the sense of spiritual perception and clarity. Victims of this category may suffer from what looks like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. They can speak in riddles, they scream, they tremble, they can see things no one else can. In fact, you can even throw in the spirit of epilepsy here. And yes, from a Western medical standpoint, these are mental health conditions. But within the Ethiopian worldview, there is a different interpretative lens. Ayine Tila spirits are blamed for everything from confusion, hallucinations, and derangement. They're often thought to attack people who have violated certain taboos or who have walked in places where spirits congregate, crossroads, cemeteries, and sacred groves. And once afflicted, the individual is typically brought to a priest or Debtera who will use prayers, holy water, and, yes, magical scrolls to drive the spirits out. And what's so compelling here is how tightly integrated the spiritual and psychological are. There is no clean divide. Mental illnesses are often depicted as spiritual affliction, and spiritual affliction is often addressed with both prayer and herbal medicine. In a way, it's a holistic system, deeply problematic from one perspective and yet deeply attentive from another. Finally, we arrive at Ye Digimt Menfes, which roughly translates to spirits of curse. Menfes actually is one of the words that I said during the beginning of the introductory prayer. Menfes simply means spirit. These are the malicious entities invoked when someone lays a curse on another person. Sometimes they're ancestral, sometimes they're free floating, just waiting for someone to get on the bad side. And sometimes they are associated with demons that operate like lawyers for the damned, persecuting cases of wrongdoing with spiritual consequences. If someone has suddenly lost their livelihood, or developed a wasting disease, or became barren after an enemy's curse, these spirits are often to blame. And what I find fascinating is how legalistic this system can be. You don't just get cursed. There's often a process. Someone committed an offense, knowingly or unknowingly, and a curse was laid in response. The spirit acts almost as a kind of karmic retribution. And this opens up some really interesting theological tensions. Is the spirit evil or simply acting in the name of justice? And if it is justice, then who can stop it? Can the church? Can the Debtera? Anyone? The demonic landscape of Ethiopian Orthodoxy is not some distant museum exhibit. It's a living, breathing belief system. And unlike these sanitized categories of good and evil we often work with in the West, the Ethiopian worldview embraces ambiguity in addition to magic. A spirit can be malevolent and yet appeased. A person can be cursed and yet deserving of compassion. A healer can be holy and yet feared. Even more fascinating, the demonic is not just a thing to be afraid of. It can also serve as a battery to fuel God's will in terms of the protection scrolls. And maybe that's the lesson here. Demons are not just things that go bump in the night. They're everything from cultural narratives, projections of fear and trauma and injustice. They are a relic of bygone beliefs that are the root of both physical, mental, and spiritual maladies. And yet for all of that, they are also very, very real. In the next part of this series, we'll focus on the people who fight back against this world of darkness. The Debtera, the rogue priests, the mystical musicians, the exorcists who aren't quite sanctioned, and yet who might be your only hope. And in this episode, I may have talked about how the Ethiopic worldview might harken back more to ancient times. However, I never once attempted to cast aspersions against it. And this is because I don't know if it's the love of the language, the love of the culture, but I deeply respect Ethiopian Orthodoxy. And I hope that by listening to this, you've learned a bit and you've come to have that same type of admiration. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do a deep dive in this, because so few people know about this very amazing religion. So few people actually know the liturgical language that it makes me extremely sad, which is why I'm considering teaching this language through courses. If you are interested, please reach out to me on southerndemonology.com and let me know. And I will then decide how to put this together and offer it. Until then, Thank you for listening to Southern Demonology. Stay safe out there. Thank you for listening to Southern Demonology. Find us online at southerndemonology.com, which offers links to all of our social media and episodes. Southern Demonology is solely owned, produced, and edited by myself, and the intro and outro music are composed by me as well. If you have a moment, please rate, like, and share this podcast, as it is the best way to help support my work. As always, I am JJ, and it has been a pleasure to speak to you today.
Ever wonder what your lashes are destined for? The cards have spoken. Maybelline New York Mascara does it all. Whether you crave fully fan lashes with Lash Sensational, big, bold volume from the Colossal, a dramatic lift with Falsies Lash Lift, or natural-looking volume from Great Lash, your perfect lash future awaits. Manifest your best mascara today. Shop Maybelline New York and discover your lash destiny. Shop now at Walmart.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
In honor of Military Appreciation Month, Verizon thought of a lot of different ways we could show our appreciation, like rolling out the red carpet, giving you your own personal marching band, or throwing a bumping shindig. At Verizon, we're doing all that in the form of special military offers. That's why, this month only, we're giving military and veteran families a $200 Verizon gift card and a phone on us, with a select trade-in and a new line on select unlimited plans. Think of it as our way of flying a squadron of jets overhead while launching fireworks. Now that's what we call a celebration, because we're proud to serve you. Visit your local Verizon store to learn more. $200 Verizon gift card requires smartphone purchase $799.99 or more with new line on eligible plan. Gift card sent within 8 weeks after receipt of claim. Phone offer requires $799.99 purchase with new smartphone line on unlimited ultimate or postpaid unlimited plus. Minimum plan $80 a month with autopay plus taxes and fees for 36 months. Less $800 trade-in or promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in must be from Apple, Google, or Samsung. Trade-in and additional terms apply.